It's a conspiracy!
This episode of It's a Conspiracy is brought to you by Telus World of Science Edmonton, home of the Canadian debut of Marvel, Universe of Superheroes.
Hey, Charlie, do you like comic books?
I sure do.
You do? Greg, do you like comic books?
Yeah, man, they have pictures in them.
I got a bucket full of them.
Did you guys know that Edmonton is the first and so far only city to host the Marvel Universe of Superheroes at the Telus World of Science?
I did know that.
I do now.
Actually.
Did you guys know that?
I do know.
I've always known that.
I have some other interesting bits to mention here. You guys can travel through the mysterious mirror dimensions of Doctor Strange. You can transform into Iron Man. Yeah, you can see some rare hand-drawn images of iconic heroes such as Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Captain America. Woo. All right.
Batman will be there.
Excelsior!
It's Marvel, damn it. Batman. Oh.
Yeah, I think it's the 2019 marks the 80th anniversary of Marvel, if I'm not mistaken.
80 years.
80 years.
Of quality entertainment. Can you scroll up a little bit so I can read that part on the bottom? Anywho.
Buy your tickets today at Telus World of Science, Edmonton.ca. That's Telus World of Science, Edmonton.ca.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Leave it to the pros.
It's a Conspiracy is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB.
And if you would like to enjoy other fine programming, you should check out Let's Do Coffee. They are super fantastic, real great. Yeah, go check them out. All right.
Which reminds me, we should do coffee sometime.
Let's do coffee.
Yeah.
Hey. Episode 4, The Voyage Home. Try that again. Okay.
You know we're not editing this out, right?
Episode 4, The Voyage Home. Welcome back, everyone, to It's a Conspiracy. This is the podcast where we lay out the beliefs behind selected conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. I'm your host, Andrew, and I do not claim to be an expert at anything we're going to discuss today, and will probably be wrong about everything as usual because I'm so old and I'm so tired. If you'd like to see where we dug up whatever claptrap we are going to discuss today, then please check out the resources in the episode description. That's Charlie's baby, and I can't tell you how many times I've had to cradle his weeping head, consoling him that, shh, people do check the episode descriptions and look up those links that are so annoying to stick in. I know, and I'm always including more and more all the time, despite telling you constantly that I won't do that. Also, we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Yay. Joining me today are the bad boys, Charles and Gregory. These bad boys ride together and die together.
Bad boys for life.
Yeah, that's right. Right? That's a good contemporary reference. They will be presented with selected. I mean, did you see the preview? There's the new.
No, I'm not watching. No.
Oh, dude, who is like they're? Oh.
What are we talking about?
It's a real thing. There's a third Bad Boys coming out.
Oh,
yeah, the Fresh Prince and Martin Lawrence,
Cedric the Entertainer, and
yeah.
I don't know if he's in it.
But I think he was also old and ready to retire. It's been a long time. Okay, so they will interject as they see fit. Are you two ready?
wait.
Ready to rumble.
Ready to rumble. Oh, a little sip for courage. We haven't had a cheers in a little while. We should have a little nice little cheers.
Hey, cheers to the new room.
Oh, cheers to a new room. We're in Studio C.
Studio C.
It's nice to be back in the man cave. I'll tell you that much. If you would like to keep up to date on what we are up to here at It's a Conspiracy, then please check out our website, It's a Conspiracy Podcast, where you can find links to our Twitter, that's run by the Irish Madman, our Facebook group, the Instagram, that's run by Greg, the emails, and our Patreon page, patreon.com/It's a Conspiracy. All right, so Charlie, with a yes or no, can you tell me if you've heard of either of these two theories?
Give it.
Number 1, MKUltra Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Okay, you have heard of it?
Dance crazy.
Dance crazy, yep. And the second one is MKUltra Part 3.
Oh my God.
The First Earth Battalion and the Men Who Stare at Goats.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, you've heard of the movie?
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie?
No.
Okay.
Which is stupid. I should probably see that.
Oh,
It's
dude.
not bad.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
It's in my alley.
MKUltra Part 2. I was going to call this the Canadian Connection, but Electric
that makes
Boogaloo
sense.
does sound better. Canadian Boogaloo. How's that?
Canadian
The
Boogaloo.
Canadian Canagaloo.
No.
I don't know about that.
All right.
You should scrap that.
Okay, LSD, the Cold War, sleep-induced comas for months at a time, torture, sensory bombardment, sensory deprivation, chemical manipulation, sexual abuse, and basic violation of human rights right on the McGill University campus in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is a very well-documented fact, and it's really not that long ago. So the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology, run by Dr. Ewen, that's a great name, Cameron, a Scottish-born psychologist who was practicing in Montreal. It was a front for Canadian-funded experiments done in partnership with the CIA and a bunch of other organizations from around the world. And these organizations were particularly interested in Cameron's psychic driving and de-patterning. So, yeah, like many, if not most, grand schemes like this, there was at least initially some sort of vague, noble goal. Cameron's goal in Montreal was allegedly to take all the bad memories and exchange them for the nice rememberies, or for nothing, or fake rememberies that the individual would perceive as their own. That sounds like something right out of a bad 90s science fiction, but it's true, and there are thousands of accounts of people, many living today, who carry on this scary legacy. So Cameron is also credited with contributing to the very controversial two-stage psychological torture method still in use by the CIA today. So if you end up lucky enough to be like in
Two-stage.
Yeah, in two-stage with the CIA.
What's stage one?
So according to Wikipedia, the CIA's two-stage psychological torture method, which refers to first creating a state of disorientation in the subject, and then second, creating a situation of self-inflicted discomfort in which the disoriented subject can alleviate their pain by capitulating.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Easy. Whoa.
No, I wanted to ask like 3 questions, and I'm like, I'm sure if I ask these questions, Andrew's going to be like, shut up.
Fuck, Greg, you're
What's
doing
the
it
problem,
again.
man?
I'm about to get to it. Essentially, the program took people, some students, some people seeking psychiatric care, postnatal counseling, some volunteers, and there are rumors of tests on prisoners and the homeless, and ran them through a regime of sleep deprivation for weeks at a time. In one case, one man was put to sleep for just over 3 months. Sleep-induced coma. So it wasn't actually like normal sleep, obviously. Electroshock therapy at extremely high doses, like 30 to 40 times higher than it's supposed to be. And then sensory experiments, either deprivation or bombardment. Have either of you two ever done a sensory deprivation chamber?
Hell yeah, I
Yeah,
love
man.
those.
Isn't it amazing?
I'm a float guy.
I couldn't get into it.
No?
Yeah.
Nah, I just kept floating into the wall and shit.
You eventually balance yourself out.
I didn't know what I was doing.
It's just very
Bonk,
strange.
Yeah.
Bonk.
That was exactly how it was going. I did realize after a while that you had to like center yourself
Yeah,
and
you
then just
steady
chill.
yourself.
But after that I was like, nah, I'm not into this.
Did you start to hear things?
Besides my breathing, I couldn't get into
Your
it.
heart.
Okay, you're used to so much noise that it's like
No, I don't think it was it. Just didn't feel.
just wasn't your thing.
Meh.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
I would definitely give it another shot. I'm just.
Yeah, I would love to try sometime.
If you go in there with the basic principles of meditation, it's awesome.
See, I don't know what those are.
Oh, you can get those for free on the internet.
Oh, cool.
Many of the victims came out of these facilities needing to be retrained in the most basic things, like how to use the toilet. And the overwhelming majority of victims have had their memories wiped entirely, and the onslaught of substance abuse, ruined families, suicide, and post-traumatic stress has just washed over the country. In truth, it is impossible to know how many were affected by this, and many of the most severe cases died in, quote, care, quote, or were simply released to homeless shelters. So there's a lot of people walking around in like the 70s and 80s who were probably normal people, and then this happened, and they just got thrown out around the country. Cameron, and this is not a defense in any fashion, maintained that his true goal was to cure disorders such as schizophrenia, and he believed that individuals with these conditions could be taken right back to the very basics of infancy, rebuilt, and brought back into society as a functioning member. So it's kind of the whole like turn it off, turn it back on again. And this was the process labeled as de-patterning. Subsequent treatments to retrain these people was called psychic driving. So de-patterning would be you take everything away, and then retraining was psychic driving. In an incredibly sick turn of events, there was a series of high-ranking delegates and officers from Canada and the States and around the world who were offered the chance to effectively have a sexual encounter with a person, and then that encounter would be subsequently erased from that person's mind. And then it turned out that years later, Cameron had secretly taped a bunch of these encounters and used them as blackmail not only on the delegates and officers, but also in some cases on the people who like did these things, like the people that were like brainwashed in it.
I don't remember this happening.
Yeah. Like I don't remember doing any of this. And
Pretty sure he also used the tapes in his own masturbatorium.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised, man. Sick guy. After a number of events, including the infamous Watergate scandal, the CIA was forced to publicly confess that certain experiments had taken place. And in the years since, it has come to light that the program in Montreal was not only funded by the CIA-initiated MKULTRA program, but that a number of Cameron's techniques have been incorporated into the overall objective. Namely, how are people controlled? How can the truth be uninhibited? And is it possible to implant or erase experiences and memories? Again, techniques like this have continued to be utilized up to the present day, as evidenced by reports from Guantanamo Bay, the sound torture in Waco, Texas. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this story. So there's a rumor that in Waco, Texas, they played the song. I
think it's pronounced Waco.
Waco, Texas.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so Waco, Texas, they played the Barney song, like "I love you, you love me, we're a happy bunch of dinosaurs," and then that was part of what drove them to be like, let's burn this building down and kill everybody.
Well, one could argue that song once would drive a person to craziness.
Just once, yeah. Never mind
on repeat.
Blistering volume at repeat for days at a time. Yeah. And then the methods of I don't know if you guys know who this is. The methods of Aziz Al-Abab. He's a torture expert affiliated with Hezbollah who has continued Cameron's sadistic tradition. So he's like, I've taken a bunch of this stuff and I've applied it to the guys that we've captured, which is, yeah. Not nice. Coincidentally, it turns out that Cameron was an expert consultant during the Nuremberg war trials just after the Second World War. This, of course, dovetails into the theory that MKUltra was really just a continuation of the human experiments being conducted in concentration camps and maybe before, and the lack of ethical and moral guidelines for research or the concept of consent for those submitting to an experiment are almost impossible to imagine and clearly appealed to more than just the Nazi scientists. So it's like, hey, we got a bunch of people locked up and we can do whatever we want to them. That's all right. Cameron suffered a heart attack and died while mountain climbing in 1967. And shortly after this, the program was quietly shut down in Montreal. The Canadian government has spent millions in settlement cases with victims, and they're trying to come clean. They're like, yeah, okay, we did it. But there's an air of like, we didn't really know what was going on, even though like a lot of it was happening right in Montreal. And they're like, well, we'll just blame the Americans for this one, even though, again, it was like happening, like they were funding the program. And
it was the CIA that was funding the program.
The CIA, but the Canadian government was as well. So the CIA was operating with the Canadian government through McGill University. And the university was funding it as well. And a lot of the guys that were being experimented on were Canadians. Pretty weird Canadian Boogaloo. Are we going with Boogaloo? Canadian Boogaloo?
Canadian Boogaloo.
Canadian Boogaloo. Well, I guess that takes us to after these messages.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Brienne, and together we make Emily Missed Out, a podcast where Emily and I dig into the long list of films that she hasn't seen yet.
It's a very long list.
Totally long list. And help her catch up on all of the pop culturally relevant lines, characters, scenes, and tropes that she may have missed out on.
We're also a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. You can find us online at albertapodcastnetwork.com or wherever you find your podcasts. Join us for my pop culture education.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but I like it.
Yeah. You guys don't want to know what Charlie was slapping there. Speaking of slapping, Charlie, what are we drinking here?
What are we drinking? Ooh, we are drinking Yellowhead Brewery's Highway 16 Lager. Why is that funny?
It's the we.
That's my stalling voice. Well, Let me tell you about this. The Highway 16 Lager is a fresh take on an Edmonton classic. Our new recipe is mildly sweet and delicately grassy with a crisp, clear finish. A well-balanced, accessible beer for everyone to enjoy. That's Yellowhead Brewery Highway 16 Lager.
That's good. This is their standard issue.
You can drink this all day long.
Yeah,
Good.
All day.
You like this stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And it's not an IPA for a change.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
That's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Good things come to those who wait.
That is really nice, actually. And I saw that Charlie you have quite a collection of these guys.
It's a secret stash.
What's the guy got to do to get some,
whose leg you got to hump around here to get a...
Well, there's two of you, and I got two legs. I got 2 feet.
Yeah, okay, man. No, that is good beer. And these guys are the ones that help sponsor your
my
review.
porn fest.
Yeah, right on. Which our Twitter guy, I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did see that.
Yeah, so I will bleep out his name. Didn't know that you actually worked with an amateur porn festival.
Yeah.
And we just kind of casually skimmed over that.
Because we talk about it all the time.
But not on mic.
But not on camera.
Yeah,
not on film, yeah.
No.
Not on film.
On film.
Ear film.
Yeah.
Ear film.
So,
No, these Yellowhead was the title sponsor for the Blue Review X.
And you are an amateur porn star? Would you call yourself that?
No,
Producer?
I'm not a star, but I ran the festival. It was a great event that happened this year. It was the 10th year this year already.
10th year.
And it was sold out the theater before the doors opened. And
That's amazing.
Just before the doors open.
just before the doors opened, we got the word from upstairs that they shouted down the stairs, "Hey, you guys sold out! There's no more tickets!" So that was pretty cool.
Cool.
And then it was just back to the grapefruit method.
Yeah. Do you know what that is?
I don't, and I'm good. You can tell me off air.
We're going to watch that video after this.
Yeah.
Probably.
Have we got a Mandela minute for this?
Mandela minute.
We could talk about that giant pyramid that was floating over the Pentagon like last year, and that's why they shut it down for like 3 months.
What?
All right, so I don't know the exact premise to it or like why, but the Pentagon was shut down last year, right?
Okay.
For like
In the
for, like,
States.
in the States for like a few months.
Like a snow day.
It was like a snow
month.
Let's call it Trump months or
A
something.
snow quarter, yeah.
The orange snow that came and known as the president. Yeah, but apparently it wasn't shut down due to anything political or business. It was shut down because there was a giant floating UFO-shaped, pyramid-shaped UFO floating over the Pentagon that was beaming down messages to them, and somehow the Canadian government got in there, and they were asked to help decode what those messages were, and that's why the Pentagon had actually shut down.
The UFO was there the whole time?
Yeah, it was there for like 4 months, and then I guess it's gone now. I haven't seen anything or heard anything more about it, but yeah, there's like a couple of videos. There's this one, and then there's like another one where this guy is driving.
Is there a better one in daylight?
Nah, no,
it's
it's
all
mostly
night.
yeah.
Okay.
So you just see it at night.
Yeah, because it disappears during the day.
Oh.
And so, okay, so it was a giant pyramid that disappears during the day, floating over the Pentagon. It was closed, beaming it down alien messages.
Yeah.
Cloaking device,
Well, this is not like a Mandela minute. This is like just watch the video.
Have a second captured by Alex Dude to confirm and corroborate that there's something going on over the Pentagon. Why is this alien craft hovering over this military installation?
What? Fucking use a tripod, bud. There we go.
There it is.
That is
Right? How creepy is that? It's I don't know. It looks like the Borg ship.
Yeah,
or
it's like
something.
the Borg, but they picked a different shape.
Yeah.
and you couldn't see it during the day, so it has some kind of like light bending thing going on.
I don't know about that. I didn't really look exactly deep into it, but saw this and watched the video, and I just thought it would be a hot topic if I ever forgot about.
Well, look at that, because
the
you can see the
Mandela
reflection.
Yeah, and it's moving. Like, you can see there's
and it's
sides to it, man.
It's reflecting the light from the city on the one side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Guys, that's just a hot air balloon.
Nah.
This music is
It's a
really
hot air
engaging
pyramid.
me in.
Hot air pyramid. I could go with the hot air pyramid. It's a dirigible.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right on. Well, we should
Yeah.
look more.
We'll look more into this.
Yeah,
but yeah.
that's a.
Put a link up on our.
I've just been holding on to this
little
one.
scissor.
Been holding on to this one for a
socials.
while just in case I forgot about Mandela minutes. Or it was put on the spot just like that.
Okay. Anyways, so here we go. Oh, here's some messages from the forestry guys.
Oh,
You can do way better than
yeah,
that.
come on.
Here's some messages from the forestry guys.
Stick it in.
Okay.
Alberta loves its forests and it shows. In the last 20 years alone, Alberta's forest industry planted and nurtured 2 billion trees. Strategic harvesting is helping slow the spread of the mountain pine beetle. Take that, you scourge of infestation. Oh, and Alberta's forest industry creates enough green energy to power 4 cities the size of Grand Prairie. If that doesn't power your heart in the process, chances are you need to learn more about your relationship with Alberta's forests. Go to loveabforests.com.
So, MKUltra Part 3, the First Earth Battalion and the Men Who Stare at Goats. All right, now, pop quiz.
Pop quiz.
As we've talked about, MKUltra is like the coolest name ever.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna I'll explain what the name comes from in a second here. But there were predecessors. So, okay, you guys have
Improvising.
MKUltra obviously stands for Mortal Kombat Ultra.
Hadouken.
Get over here.
I was always a more Street Fighter, and
Finish him.
Killer Instinct was one of my favorites.
Combo breaker.
Oh, baby.
Okay, so before it was MKUltra, the predecessor of this program, was it A, Project Artichoke, B, Project Blueberry, C, MK Super, D, Experiment Friends?
Baba Ganoush.
God, I want it to be D.
Okay,
I think I'm going to say B, though.
so I'm going to review those again. A, Project Artichoke, B, Project Blueberry, C, MK Super, D, Experiment Friends.
MK Super. I'm going to say Artichoke.
I'm
Artichoke?
going with Artichoke. It's probably-
MKUltra
probably
in its
Blueberry.
early form was Project Artichoke.
Yeah, we can do it.
Never put the right answer up first. You sons of bitches.
Well, I usually go with C, and
You know
that's
what?
my experience.
Originally, I was going to go with Blueberry.
Blueberry.
Yeah.
You weren't going to go with Experiment Friends?
As much as I wanted it to be a thing.
Yeah, MKUltra really does have the coolest name. It sounds like an industrial new wave 80s band, and I love it. And of course, everyone's like, MKUltra, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Stands for Mortal Kombat Ultra.
MK, this is the lamest part of it. So
MK.
MK is the abbreviation for the technical services at the CIA building. So MK is short for Technical Services at the
it's not.
CIA building. Yeah.
No, it's not.
I know.
That's not how that
Unless it's in a
works.
different language or something.
Yeah, I know. But that's like the abbreviation. So that's what they called it.
Master Controller.
And then Ultra is the classification for the highest level of security in the American Secret Services.
What about Ultra Mega?
Maybe Ultra Mega is like next higher.
next
I don't
one.
know. Yeah. So MK, this is like technical services, ultra classified. So
Ultra.
Yeah. Top secret technical services doesn't have the same ring. The only real legacy of the program is that it has ruined a lot of lives. It was a completely inhumane abuse of power and yielded very little tangible results. What files do remain have been declassified and are now publicly available. There's a link in the episode description for you to take a peek at whenever you have a minute. There's a bunch of declassified stuff. It is interesting to read, but it's like they ruined a lot of people's lives.
Plus, the Fifth Estate does a couple of good episodes about it.
There's a thing about the Fifth Estate. Oh, we're about to get into that, Greg. You son of a bit. Yeah, so the Fifth Estate does do a bit.
Yeah, I knew where he was going with this.
However,
Hosted by Adrian Clarkson.
one very fascinating aspect of this experiment constantly churns under the surface and is just, it's incredible. So it involves men, it involves goats, and it involves a whole bunch of murders. So in 1943, a young scientist named Frank Olson started working with the CIA's Technical Services. That was the name of the program. On a program called Project Artichoke.
Hey.
And they chose that name over the earlier version of Project Bluebird. These programs were mainly concerned with chemical biological warfare and the use of psychotropic drugs. Woo!
Yay!
They toyed with making anthrax into an aerosol form, but eventually the real goal became controlling/unlocking the human mind through specific drug use. Frank Olson spent a decade in this position and was a very celebrated part of the program, which was eventually renamed MK Naomi, just like our friend Naomi. So Naomi.
You mean Charlie's friend?
No, she's my friend too. I swear. And then eventually, coincidentally, after the Korean War began, it went from MK Naomi to MKUltra. Olson's work was celebrated, and before the age of 40, he was a senior, this is a great word, bacteriologist with the CIA. And he was promoted to working with the hot stuff, the active pathogens. So he was able to directly collaborate with scientists who had been brought to the U.S. after the Nuremberg trials. So once again, there's that World War II connection. Olson was a free thinker and prone to speak in his bloody mind on the ethics and morals of the experiments that were being conducted. Friends of his, many of whom are still alive, have shared that he confided in them on a few occasions that he was very troubled by what he was working on and believed that he was himself suspected of being a double agent for Russia. And this was the very early days of the Cold War. In 1953, Olson and his colleagues were invited to a week-long retreat in Maryland for some team building, socializing, free time, stress relief, etc. Which in the 50s, I'm just like, maybe it's too many episodes of Mad Men, but it's like, get some booze and hookers in here. Let's smoke some cigarettes. At some point during the week, one of Olson's friends, purportedly a man named Gottlieb, who was the recent new head of MKUltra and the science liaison to the government science liaison to Lockheed Martin, as a joke, spiked Olson's drink with a bit of LSD.
Oh, what a scam.
Yeah, that old
time.
party gag. So a week later, Olson finally came back to work and was like, sorry, everybody, I have to quit and I'm having a lot of problems. He resigned, citing irreconcilable psychological problems, the inability to fulfill his duties, and all these he's just like, they were like, oh, something's up with this guy. So his colleagues assumed that it was the stress of the high-level position and the demands on him as the father of a young family. The company seemed very concerned for him, and they sent him to see a psychiatrist in New York named Harold Abramson. Abramson, shortly after this, became another number 2 guy with MKUltra. During this stay, Olson, so he was seeing Abramson. Olson, who had never in his life had a history of mental illness, was in a hotel room in the sole company of one CIA agent. Out of nowhere, in the middle of the night, threw himself out of the 10th story window of his hotel. So he just opened up the window and threw himself out. Go. Yeah. The official report was death by misadventure or suicide, but the family has never bought this and has gone to the extent of having his body exhumed. It said twice in the article I was reading, but there was only one exhumption in the 90s. And they've pressed for a second investigation, but to no avail. Also, in the 70s, President Carter, I think it was like, hey, about your dad, sorry, here's some money. Probably looks like maybe somebody gave him some acid at a party, and then he went and threw himself out the window. Sorry about that.
Because it's one acid hit?
Well, we'll get to it. Yeah.
Nobody was really judging how strong that shit was back in the day.
Yeah. And so he's like, maybe we did something and we shouldn't have done that. Sorry about that. Here, just sign this form that'll just get us out of hot water. And so in the 90s, he was exhumed, and then they've pressed for a second exhumation. Yeah. And here's a new word. I've never used this word before. Olson's son, Eric. So Frank, the guy that was thrown out the window.
Oh, Frankie.
His son, Eric, insists that his father was defenestrated.
Ooh, defenestrated.
Yeah, defenestrated means you're murdered by being thrown out of an open window.
Who's had the time to come up with these words?
That's so specific. I've been defenestrated. So because he had been dosed with mind-controlling agents, possibly as a party joke, or possibly he had been exposed to the mind-altering interrogation techniques he himself had helped pioneer in order to see if he'd shared secrets with enemy countries. Secrets with the enemies. So he was like, was I actually tortured? Like, is that what happened? So he doesn't really remember, and they're like, you had some LSD, man, you're fine, we did a little joke. And he's like, why do I feel so weird? Like, what happened? And so he thought maybe he'd actually been tortured and interrogated. And Olson was no longer operating under his own autonomy. There is also the theory that among a great number of other things, that Olson was ready to tell the public about the true horrors of what was unfolding in the MKUltra program.
That'll always do it to you. I think I'm going to go tell the public about all these secrets.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Bob. All right. See you later, Bob. All right. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Get them.
Yeah.
In an odd coincidence, do you guys remember the anthrax letters that were sent out in like 2001?
Mm-hmm.
So those anthrax letters, that was a strain that Olson invented.
Ooh. Trademark anthrax.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were like,
Extra
these
spicy.
are coming from the other countries, but they were a strain that was invented by
In that country.
by the CIA. Yeah. Inside job.
Dirty pool.
In an even odder coincidence, a few weeks prior to Olson's death, there was a manual released, and this cracks me up, which was available online now this was issued to field agents of the CIA. It's called A Study of Assassination, which details that the simplest way to, among other things, the simplest way to kill someone and make it look like an accident is to strike them on the head, to briefly incapacitate them, and then drop them from a height of 75 feet or more onto a hard surface.
That sounds about right.
It's natural
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Just-
That would be
how I
what
do it.
happens, yeah.
Yeah.
Or don't, or would do it.
That's how you would not do it, because you're a good person, Charlie. You
No,
wouldn't
of course.
murder anybody.
Of course.
I mean, if someone came and asked me what I thought would be the best way, that'd probably be the way.
Sure. Just hit him with a blackjack and
Yeah, man.
Some concrete galoshes.
No, it's like the Team America. It's like, you might have to take your own life. You better have this. And he gives him a hammer. He's supposed to like kill himself with it. That's probably the
Oh
cleanest
man, I haven't
way.
seen that movie in so long. Oh boy.
Okay, even odder. The CIA agent who was guarding Olson that night claimed to be asleep while Olson jumped out the window. Was basically left alone by investigators. They're like, I'm sure that guy in the room didn't see anything.
oh no, I was sleeping. Oh no, George was sleeping. Yeah, he was sleeping.
It's
And
a
then-
sleep apnea.
He was alive.
The hotel manager. So this was in the days where if you had to make a call out of a hotel, and you see it in old movies, it would like go to someone on like one of those
Switchboard.
connector boards, a switchboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the person operating the switchboard heard the call because the investigators were like, someone made a phone call from this room. And so the person who did the connecting was like, the conversation went something like, he's gone. And then the person on the other line replied, well, that's good. And the guy.
Okay, though. Was it like, well, that's good? Or was it like, oh, well, that's
It
good?
might have been really sarcastic. Might have been like
Yeah.
a sassy 14-year-old. Oh, that's good.
Oh, well, that's good.
Awesome. Yeah. So who knows? Yeah. So the guy in the room was like, I didn't make any phone calls. I don't know what they're talking about. But no one else was in the room, and the hotel was like, we do have a record of a phone call. He's like, I didn't make any phone calls. So yeah. Now in the book, The Men Who Stare at Goats, author John Ronson, no H.
That's how he introduces himself. John Ronson. No way.
Hold the H. He discusses, so Men Who Stare at Goats, he discusses the MKUltra's success, in part due to Frank Olson, in creating super soldiers for the 1st Earth Battalion, a unit deployed in Vietnam who had psychic powers, among other traits. There was also a program called the Stargate Project, which could teach soldiers how to propel themselves on the astral plane, how to remote view themselves. So like Doctor Strange, you can be like connected and see everything from the outside.
From the astral plane, yeah.
How to control the bodies of others, how to become invisible, how to phase through walls, levitate, go without food or water, manipulate the weather, and most importantly, how to kill with the mind. So there's a guy in the book named Guy Savelli, and this is who...
A guy in the book named Guy.
Yeah, there's a guy named Guy.
Real inventive.
And in
John.
in the movie, George Clooney, I think, plays this guy. He does, I'm pretty sure. So okay, it's a good movie. So Guy Savelli on one subject in the book, and he's a real life participant of this project, claims to have the ability to kill a goat just by staring at it. So Savelli has switched accounts over the years. Sometimes claim that his gift is actually the touch of death or the dim mak, and he was part of the Goat Lab. And the Goat Lab is a special facility. This is a true story set up by the U.S. government, funded millions of dollars, just like, yeah. And these men sat around staring at goats, and once in a while one would die. And then it's been documented. Like people actually did it on camera. And,
Yeah, but if you stare at a goat, never mind.
yeah, well, that's just it.
we got some time. We got some time.
Infinite monkeys
Never
at a
mind.
typewriter, right? Like it's, yeah.
Never mind.
Sorry, opinions. The few officials who involved that have spoken publicly on this have maintained that the study of things like dim mak are specifically designed for escape scenarios for captured soldiers who are extremely physically depleted. So it's like, we're going to teach you how to kill with a stare or with a touch, just in case you like can't move. You're basically so drugged up and starved and you can barely move, and you can just touch everybody on the way out and just kill them all. Like, it totally reminds me of that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with the jailbreak scene where the guy just, if you haven't seen it, then just go watch it. Cause there's a, yeah.
There's a jailbreak scene.
There's a
Part
jailbreak
two?
scene, and it's incredible. It has been, and this is a bit of an epilogue on this, but it has been reported that the MKUltra program was 6 to 10% of the CIA's operating budget from the 50s well into the 90s, and that is currently like billions of dollars a year. So this thing, including this goat lab and this McGill facility,
Well, those aren't
Cost.
cheap. Goats aren't cheap.
no, cost billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Millions.
Yep. Well, I guess that takes us to opinion time.
Opinion time.
Do you want to sing the opinion time?
No.
song? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In my head.
We all want to go to Hawaii. I know.
Creeper.
Yeah.
Opinion time. Hey, everybody. It's opinion time.
In terms of this whole MKUltra thing, they were like, we're creating the super soldiers. So one of the main aspects of this that people talked about after it came out was like, you got these soldiers that have been like brainless, cold-blooded killers.
Just waiting to be activated.
Yeah. So you read off a list of words and they're like, "We must murder." So there's a whole, and that sounds like some recent stuff, but this goes back as far as, we got one here right off the bat with Frank Sinatra, the Manchurian Candidate.
1962.
Yeah. And what's our next one here?
Sleeper, 1973.
Is that Woody Allen?
Yeah, it is.
Okie dokie.
Parallax view.
The Parallax View, 1974.
Parallax. Do you remember Parallax from Flat Earth Theory?
Oh.
Yeah. The Naked Gun
Naked
was
Gun.
all about the sleeper assassination of, I don't remember who it was that became a robot, like killing people, but yeah.
Conspiracy Theory, 1997. Zoolander, 2001.
Shut it, Zane.
I don't know who was a activated serial, killer machine in that movie.
It was obviously Derek Zoolander.
Oh, right, because
whenever they played the song "Relax," that's when he would like.
and
turn
Will
into the-
Ferrell would like,
Yeah.
yeah.
He wanted to assassinate the Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is one of the most famous examples would be the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Identity series. That's kind of his whole thing. Yeah. Greg's favorite movies
I don't know why we keep bringing up Matt Damon
with his favorite actor.
Captain America.
America.
Winter
That
Soldier.
picture, man. Oh, that movie's so good. That's probably the best of the bunch there. Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
That's why they saved it for last.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
What do you think?
Well, then there's that American Ultra movie I just showed you the preview
That looked
for.
terrible, Charlie. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's because it's Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But I digress.
Okay, Greg, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Dr. Cameron, what do you think about people getting...
I don't think he did it. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly.
This is a weird one because this is this is kind of a factual, this is more of a report, but like the Nuremberg connection, the Canadian connection, it was like an off soil, not in our backyard.
I think it more had to do just from what I've read or seen about it. It had more what to do with the people coming back for in POW camps that were just so had the belief that Russia and socialism and fascism were the way to go, right? Coming back and being so brainwashed to the point that they were capitalism in the United States is the devil, right? Yeah. Then they were just holy shit, how did this happen? How can we make this work for us? Mm-hmm. So I think it kind of started with that, and then also having all those experiments happening during the World War II in Nazi Germany, just being well, we have carte blanche, man, and we have lots of money, and nobody knows what the fuck we are doing anyway. So
there's not a war going on right now. We're underground. Yeah,
it definitely happened, and probably it's all connected. And it just depends on what they were trying to accomplish at the time.
I don't know if we said this last time, but it is shocking how by the time the labs and everything were set up during the Second World War, they were well into it. And I know, people are often World War II didn't actually start in 1939. That's just kind of the Western perspective on it. But there was brewing things for years and years before that. So it's hard to be January 1st, 1939. But if they'd started 10 years, say late 20s, experimenting on people in small doses, and then it just became this full blown thing by then. And all of that got pushed into MKUltra. At that exponential growth rate, can you imagine what it would have been in the 50s, 60s, 70s?
Oh man, it would have been way more.
Yeah, spiritual level stuff.
Yeah, oh absolutely.
That's a weird thought, but
Could have really found some cool stuff then if you would have kept pushing that envelope.
Well, that's what I'm talking, and that's what they were saying. People that can control weather, kill a goat with your mind, or sleep for 3 months. What does that do to a brain?
Well, not just that, but what they were doing to the people that were sleeping for 3 months, man.
Yeah.
They were giving them electric shock therapy 400 times the power, 100 times more often than they were actually doing for regular people. Yeah, man.
I don't know, man. Charlie, What do you think on this? Like, have you ever heard of the McGill connection before?
No.
And that's odd, isn't it? That something that serious happened in Canada and we're all kind of like,
No, I don't hear a lot. Well, I mean, the whole idea of using drugs like that or like LSD and things like that to cure severe issues and things like that. I mean, I feel like, aren't they just recently restarting, like opening the gates on testing with that sort of stuff again?
They claim to be, because they're like, we're going to teach.
Well, okay, in a more public friendly.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna use
psilocybin, I believe is what it is.
Yeah. But they're definitely, this is not the same as we're going to take a bunch of homeless guys.
No, but this is more above ground or like above,
Yeah, and the concept of consent.
Yeah, I guess the difference is one is a bunch of military people doing experiments in bunkers, and the other is like people in colleges and universities doing tests.
It's wild, man. And that's the crazy thing is that while this was going on at McGill, I mean, I don't know when William Shatner was at McGill, but I think it was like he's one of their most famous ex-pupils. And that probably would have been like the 50s. Like he might have been at the university while there was people like tied up screaming and getting like electroshock therapy.
Or that could explain his speech pattern.
Oh, that could be where he...
And his penchant for green women.
Once you go green, you don't...
go on.
Come on.
I'm not sure. You don't...
finish the joke.
I'm not
Get
sure.
there.
You sure like them. So I guess, Charlie, do you think that you could be taught to kill a goat just by staring at it?
See, the thing is, if I stare at any living being long enough,
Now I'm scared to make eye contact.
eventually,
Once again, it just can't be translated in an audio medium. The look that Charlie just gave.
Eventually, one of them was going to perish, right?
I guess so. You do have that effect.
It's like it's a goat, man.
Yeah.
Are they feeding the goats regularly while the guys are staring at them? Like,
Well-
are they just putting the two people, the person and a goat, in a room?
Or how do you know it was one of those fainting goats?
No, so the
Have you seen videos of those little bastards? They're
and
so
that's
cute.
just it. Goats are strange, but the incident in question was actually documented. So if you look here, you can see a picture of George Clooney staring at a goat, and there's a camera behind him. So this actually did happen, where a guy stared at a goat. The goat died on camera. But
Sorry, let's look it up.
so these goats who are in this weird hot facility, they're probably not eating or sleeping properly.
Well, that's a lot of pressure, man.
And all of a sudden, this guy's just staring at it. It's not. So it's like,
How uncomfortable do you feel when I stare at you?
Okay, like,
Does that make you feel weird?
No, it's not. That.
How uncomfortable would you feel using that microphone before you cleaned it?
I know, exactly. Actually, that's a good point, because it does affect me. Dude, that is so funny. What are these like? It's like,
Do I freak you out?
It's like Charlie has this second set of eyelids that like slip out when he's in this weird like. I might be horny or I might be very angry.
Why can't it be both?
You might be able to find the actual video. If
we can find
We'll find it
throw
later.
up. Throw it up on the line.
All right, but then once again, I gotta ask. So this guy, Frank Olson, and a couple other people. That's twice that World War II Nuremberg trials got brought in. Pretty interesting that scientists, because they were also brought in to like help with the moon landing, help with all kinds of things. So it's like those guys like escaped trials so that they could come and do weird experiments on people. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe they thought the goats were the real enemies.
And this is where
Maybe that's who they were training to go fight.
Oh, they were calling themselves.
It was just a cover up.
Yeah,
These goats are really the soldiers.
Take down the goat.
Well, what's that?
Goat soldiers.
Operation Goat Soldier.
What's the movie where they think that they're gonna kill a goat, but it's like a person, and they think it's a goat, and they're like, in the end, the guy like twitches out, and he's like, "Oh, it's actually a person. Don't kill it." Do you guys know what I'm talking
Was
about?
that Kingsman
Are you
Secret
talking
Service?
about?
It might not be Kingsman. It might be like
It sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
It's some movie where it was like some guy was like, I'm not going to shoot this kitten or whatever, this puppy or whatever it is, and it turns out the guy was brainwashed and he was actually like a person.
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe.
And that's one of the things that I thought about when I saw this. I'm like, yeah.
So the episode I'm talking about is like this guy is in some sort of military now, and like what he sees is like looks like some creature, vampiric creature, but they like it's some flash in his head and it turns off the switch and he ends up actually seeing people and they're just murdering people because they think that they've just been brainwashed to think that they're aliens that are attacking them.
Right.
Black
Or-
Mirror also scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. That Christmas special? Like, what?
Oh, dude, with John Hamm.
That's a show that I can't binge watch.
Oh, no, man. No, I can only watch one or two, and I'm like, okay.
I stopped watching.
Yeah.
They're a little too realistic.
Yeah.
That old pig thing. Like,
Yay. All right. Well, on that happy note,
Future!
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys are feeling cheered up. Happy Thanksgiving, because it would have just come out after Thanksgiving.
yeah, okay.
So happy
Happy Turkey Day.
Yeah, happy. Yeah.
Gobble, gobble.
Yeah, you can listen to all of our episodes on itsaconspiracypodcast.com. Plus, you can find links, including our merch, such as
Oldmandesign.com. Come on, Dan, and we'll get you sorted.
Oh man, I can't even. You just got the gift to make me laugh, man. Oh, might be the hour or the heat. I'm not sure. We will be back with episode 5 on November 1st, and we have a live event, Gamers Lodge special. On it's looking like it's going to be October 27 now, and we have a little Halloween surprise. I have a really fun idea for a Halloween surprise.
Andrew surprises.
She'll be a fun week romp through the woods.
Oh,
Thank you so much, and please feel free to subscribe, rate, review, share, tell a friend. Thanks a bunch, and take care.
Bye.
Combo breaker.
Oh, baby.
Combo breaker.
Oh, baby.
Skin flute.